Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Jaya Radha Madhav Radha Madhav Radhe. Jaya Radha Madhav Radha Madhav Radhe. Jaya Radha Madhav Radha Madhav Radhe. Radha Madhav Radha. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Gaura Chamanandi. Jai Mishipad Paramahamsa. Pri Rajgacha Stotra Satta Sri Simad His Divine Grace. Siraboy Charanaravind Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Sri Prabhupada ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki. Iskandaviti, founder Charya Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Samavata Bhakta Vrinda ki, Harinama Sankirtan ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jainitai Gaura Pimanande, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru, to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Taksurunmiritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gramahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kansana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara Narayana Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshu bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Svasyaya Namahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Surabhyay Namaha Om Surabhyay Namaha Om Surabhyay Namaha Mukam Karoti Vasalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Yatkripa Tamaham Bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our Bhagavatam class. We are continuing in the 11th Canto, Chapter 17, entitled Description of the Varnashrama System as spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself to His most confidential associate, Sri Uddhava. Today we are reading beginning with text 28 to 8. Sayam Pratar Upaniya Bhakshyam Tasmai Nivedayat Yach Chanyad Api Anugnatam Upayunjita Samyatah Sayam Pratarupaniya Bhakshyam Tasmai Nivedayat Yach Chanyad Apya Nugnatam Upayunjita Samyatah Sayam Pratar Upaniya Bhakshyam Tasmai Nivedayat Yat Chanyad Apyanunjagnatam Upayunjita Samyata Sayamat Pratarupaniya Bhakshyam Tasmai Nivedayat Yat Chanyad apyanugnatam
यच्छान्यादप्पनुज्ञातम्
upayunjita samyataha
उपायुञ्जितसंयतः
sayam pratarupaniya
भक्ष्यं
bhaksyam
तस्मै
tasmai nivedayat
निवेदयेत्
yaschanyadapyanugnatam upayunjita samyataha
सायं प्रातरुपानीय भैक्ष्यं तस्मै निवेदयेत्
bhaksyam tasmai nivedayat
यच्छान्यादप्पनुज्ञातम्
yaschanyadapyanugnatam
उपायुञ्जितसंयतः
upayunjita samyataha sayam
सायं
in the evening
in the evening
pratah
प्रातः
in the morning
in the morning
upaniya
उपानीय
bringing
bringing
bhaksyam
भैक्ष्यं
food that is collected
food that is collected
by begging
by begging
tasmai
तस्मै
unto him
unto him
the acharya nivedayat
nivedayet
one should deliver
one should deliver
yat
yet
that which
that which
cha also anyat
and yet
other things
other things
api indeed
indeed
anugnatam
anujnatam
that which is permitted
that which is permitted
upayunjita
upayunjita
one should accept
one should accept
samyataha
samyatah
being fully controlled.
being fully controlled.
Translation and purport by the disciples of the Divine Grace of Prabhupada Ki. In the morning and evening, one should collect foodstuffs and other articles and deliver them to the spiritual master. Then, being self-controlled, one should accept for oneself that which is allotted by the Acharya. Kindly repeat after me. In the morning and evening,
In the morning and evening,
one should collect foodstuffs
one should collect foodstuffs
and other articles
and other articles
and deliver them
and deliver them
to the spiritual master.
to the spiritual master.
Thus, being self-controlled,
Thus being self-controlled,
one should accept
one should accept
for oneself
for oneself
that which is allotted
that which is allotted
by the Acharya.
by the Acharya.
Purport. One who desires to receive the mercy of a bona fide spiritual master should not be eager to accumulate the paraphernalia of sense gratification. Rather, whatever one is able to collect, one should offer at the lotus feet of the Acharya. Being self-controlled, one should humbly accept that which is allotted by the bona fide spiritual master. Every living entity must ultimately be trained to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But until one has become expert in the techniques of spiritual service, one should offer everything to the spiritual master, who is completely realized in the process of worshiping the Lord. When the spiritual master sees that the disciple is advanced in Krishna consciousness, he then engages the disciple in directly worshiping the personality of Godhead. A bona fide spiritual master does not use anything for his personal sense gratification and entrusts to his disciple only as much material opulence as the disciple can properly offer to the lotus feet of the Lord. The example may be given here that when an ordinary father tries to train his son in business and other material activities, he entrusts to the son only as much wealth as the son can intelligently engage in profitable enterprises without foolishly wasting the father's hard-earned money. Similarly, the bona fide spiritual master teaches his disciples to worship the Lord. And an immature disciple must simply deliver everything to the lotus feet of the Guru, just as an immature child does not keep a personal bank account, but rather receives his maintenance from the father, who trains the son to be responsible. If one cheats oneself by defying the order of a bona fide spiritual master or Krishna, one certainly becomes a non-devotee or sense enjoyer and falls from the spiritual path. Therefore, one should be trained to serve a bona fide spiritual master and thus become mature in Krishna consciousness. A translation again here. In the morning and evening, one should collect foodstuffs and other articles and deliver them to the spiritual master. Then, being self-controlled, one should accept for oneself that which is allotted by the acharya. So it is interesting here how what we call bhiksha in Vrindavan, it is the common practice every day. Those who are living in Vrindavan, Babajis, different types of, so many different sadhus in Vrindavan, they go, especially in the morning, for bhiksha. And here it mentions that actually this is meant to be done both in the morning and the evening. In Cambodia, one can see on a daily basis many young boys. It's part of the Buddhist culture, possibly borrowed from Indian culture. And they go bare feet, no shoes, and they have nice umbrella because it's either very hot or raining, and they have one special bowl container they keep under their cloth, and so the practice is very nice. Actually, it just sometimes you can see. Usually they go in a team too, just like Shastra mentions. Also, brahmachari should not travel alone. Brahmachari should travel with another brahmachari. So they go in a group. Sometimes you can see they go from one place to another, and you can see a long line, even like 10, 15, like brahmacharis. And so they will go in front of some house or some shop. They will stand and they will recite some mantras, some prayers. And just for a few minutes, but because they have to go to so many places, that is Madhukari, yeah. And then usually because it is part of the culture in Cambodia, people, they come, they give something, either some grain or sometimes Coca-Cola. They give all kinds of things, which because the culture is there, but exactly what to give, that is somewhat lacking. So there's a very nice practice which is described here. And this is to train the individual, the young brahmachari, in serving and totally depending on the acharya. Here the word acharya is being used in terms of, it was described yesterday actually in the verse we were reading. Acharya has different meaning. The more simple meaning and the general meaning. They are my actual devotees. So this is an important. when the Guru lies down to sleep, the servant should also lie down nearby. And when the Guru has awakened, the servant should sit near him, massaging his lotus feet and rendering other similar services. When the Guru is sitting down in his asana, the servant should stand nearby with folded hands, awaiting the Guru's order. In this way, one should always worship the spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada nicely arranged for this particular instruction in a specific and a general way. Specific way means that Srila Prabhupada was always surrounded by assistants. He had like permanent servant, and that permanent servant was his first and foremost responsibility was to simply be there for any need or for any request that was being made by the spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada had a system wherever he went, whether it was here in Mayapur or in any city where he was preaching, wherever he stayed, he had the same kind of setup. He had a low table. We don't see Prabhupada sitting on the chair behind the desk. Prabhupada had a low table, and he had some nice sitting arrangement, cushions for his guests, anyone who came. Especially here in Mayapur, we can still see Prabhupada's room. Not big room, smaller than this room actually. And behind Prabhupada's desk, his books were there. I think a deity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, nice deity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he had a few specific, he had a photo of his Guru Maharaj, you can still see on the desk, and a few items. One of the important items was a bell, which, so when Prabhupada was in his room, either he was writing or maybe meeting some guests or just by himself, chanting or reading. Sometimes he would ring the bell. And servant means that as soon as that bell is rung, So there was one, so Prabhupada would sometimes change servant. And this one new servant, it was his first day, you could say, on the job, first day of service. And so he was sitting outside of the room, and then all of a sudden the bell rings. So immediately he goes in, offers his obeisances, and Shruta Kirti, one of the many servants, fortunate to have that seva. So he recalls, my first day, I was a little bit nervous, some a new service. So anyways, the bell rang. So immediately he went inside, offered his obeisances, and then you called Srila Prabhupada? And then Prabhupada replied, I was just testing to see if you were listening. That was, he recalls that his first day of seva. So the idea is that, why does one take guru? Isn't it? Why does one need to have a spiritual master, and what are the different reasons for taking spiritual master? Of course, common understanding is we take guru so that we can advance in Krishna consciousness, so that we can learn about Krishna consciousness. But how to advance in Krishna consciousness? First and foremost, responsibility or duty of a disciple is to hear and to execute, to hear any instructions that are given by the spiritual master, and also to follow, to execute, and to put into practice whatever different orders are given by the spiritual master. That's the general basic understanding. And whenever possible, to directly serve the spiritual master. What are the two ways, the two general ways of serving Guru?
Vani and Vapu.
Yes, Vani and Vapu. So, Vapu is directly, when it is possible, directly being with the spiritual master, serving the spiritual master, cooking for the spiritual master, washing clothes, so many different things that are there. And of course, Vani, being eager, being interested, desiring to understand what the spiritual master desires. What are the orders of the spiritual master? And our acharyas explained that of the two, the Vani is most important. Yeah. Because spiritual master will not always physically be present. And most disciples, even during Prabhupada's time, for example, maybe 90%, maybe more, maybe 90% of Prabhupada's disciples could not have the Vapu Seva. Very few devotees had Vapu Seva, direct. Very few disciples spoke to Srila Prabhupada. Majority were doing their seva by assisting other more senior disciples who had that fortune, that opportunity of directly serving the spiritual master. So this is it means that actually when one accepts the spiritual master, one should understand how to actually engage in serving the spiritual master, which means also serving Krishna. Yeah. So so the first point being made here is that one needs to maintain, here it says, one should remain as a humble servant. One needs to maintain this type of mentality or a mood of service. And of course, here it mentions specifically different activities. Just like Prabhupada would go on morning walks, and devotees naturally would be walking behind him. So this is specifically mentioned here. There's here in India, it's part of the culture that you don't walk on the shadow of the spiritual master. For that matter, you don't walk on the shadow of other Vaishnavas as much as possible. Just like for Tulsi also. Tulsi Devi, that's why generally, whenever it's possible, we put Tulsi directly under the light, so there's no shadow. So then it's not a problem. But in the place like we have now, shadow will be there. So one should walk around the shadow of Tulsi Devi. Similar kind of principle out of respect. When the Guru lies down to sleep, the servant should always also lie down. There was always a servant sleeping next door, like there were servants' quarters. Prabhupada has his place, his room, and then there was a servants' quarter. Because at any time there may be some need there. Okay, we go to the next text here. Text number 30. Evam vrito gurukule.
Evam vrito gurukule.
Vased bhoga vivarjitaha.
Vased bhoga vivarjitaha.
Vidya samapyate yavat.
Vidya samapyate yavat.
Vibratam akanditam. Translation: until the student has completed his Vedic education, he should remain engaged in the ashram of the spiritual master, should remain completely free of material sense gratification, and should not break his vow of celibacy, brahmacharya. Short purport. This verse describes the upakurbana brahmachari, one who enters grihastha ashram or family life after completing his Vedic education. The word evam vrittaha indicates that although one may eventually marry and become prominent in society as an intellectual, politician, or businessman, during student life one must remain without false prestige of the humble servant of the bona fide spiritual master. The Naistiki brahmachari, who never marries, is described in the following verse. So I was just thinking how when Narada Muni is speaking to Yudhishthira Maharaj, or when Shukadeva Goswami is speaking to Parikshit Maharaj, we have these two types of brahmacharis that are described here. The Naistiki brahmachari, Sutta Goswami is Naistika brahmachari. Narada Muni, Naistika brahmachari. And one who enters family life, upakurvana, Who knows the Sanskrit breakup of this word?
I can find out.
Vana. You find out. Vana is forest.
Vana is forest. Vana is not.
Vana is forest. Vana is not right. Yeah. Look it up. Upakur Vana. Vana. There is Vani.
Vani.
Vana means? We'll find out here. So, this very important concept, which is only to be found in the Vedic culture, that one is trained as a brahmachari in early life, but even upon entering householder life, one can still be known and one can still continue to be a brahmachari if he follows the prescribed standard, which is a very high standard, of course, because Vedic culture is a very high culture. What is that high standard? That, and of course, this is only possible for those who have been trained in Gurukula. And because the majority of people in the world have no idea about Gurukula, and even the majority of our own devotees have not been trained also in Gurukula, so therefore we have very few people who follow that prescribed system. What is that prescribed system? That even in householder life, sex life is for begetting children. So one who is married and who follows that system, then he remains a true disciple. Shastra also mentions that a disciple as a householder will take permission from the spiritual master to beget children. This is the actual norm or standard, which is again a very high norm, but that is the real mood and proper understanding of what who a disciple is or is meant to be. Because what we learn in Gurukula, Vedic culture, is that everything belongs to Krishna, and that ultimately our primary goal and objective in life is to again become reinstated in our unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. And what is the greatest obstacle for doing that are activities of sense gratification, especially in the matter of sex life. So, why is it that in householder life, one is recommended to give up householder life after the age of 50? What does that mean? It means that actually one is meant to give up sex life by a certain age. The earlier one can give that up, the better. But there is a guideline that is given that when the children are grown up, which generally, if one does things as recommended in the Shastra, if one marries by the age of 20 for the men, earlier for the women, then the male or the husband by the age of 50 to 60 should be winding up, finishing his business in family life, and taking to Vanaprastha. Vanaprastha means completely no engagement in sex life and retiring from any kind of family duty and activity. So in other words, of the four ashrams, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas, already three of those four ashrams, brahmacharya life is followed. Brahmachari, vanaprastha, and sannyas, sex life is totally forbidden. That means that, as explained by our acharyas, householder life, which means actually a concession, a temporary concession to sex life, or temporary concession to different activities more on the bodily platform, is meant to be temporary, just for a few years. So this is not at all possible unless one is trained up from early childhood, and therefore the importance, and that's why our acharyas remind us all the time of the importance. Komaram asarit pragno. Dulabam manusham janma. This you must always keep in mind, meditate upon, remember how rare this human form of life is and what is the primary purpose to engage in devotional activities. We're going to read very quickly the last verse for today, which is 631, describing the Naistiki Brahmachari. Yadyaso chandasam lokam araksham brahma vistapam gurave vinyased deham swadhyayartam brihatvrataha. Translation and purport: if the brahmachari student desires to ascend to the Maharuloka or Brahmaloka planets, then he should completely surrender his activities to the spiritual master in observing the powerful vow of perpetual celibacy. Dedicate himself to superior Vedic studies. Short purport: one who desires the supreme perfection of life must engage body, mind, and words in the service of a bona fide spiritual master. One desiring elevation to superior planets such as Brahmaloka and Maharuloka must fully engage in the spiritual master's service. We can thus imagine the sincerity of purpose and service required to achieve the Krishnaloka planet, which lies far beyond the material universe. So basically this is explaining how those who are Naistika Brahmacharis, they can easily be elevated to these higher planets. But those who are Krishna conscious have no interest to go to those planets, any planet in the material world, because one then again has to come back to this planet. So we become, in our Krishna consciousness movement, those who are fortunate to actually know about this, and those who are fortunate to take that vow. It's a vow, actually, a vow of permanent celibacy. It's like Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev took that vow, and so it's a obviously a major commitment, and in the Vedic culture, this is very much encouraged. That Hare Krishna. That young men, young boy be trained in this way and be given that choice. Know that there is a choice. Most people don't know that there's a choice. Most people don't know about celibacy, and celibacy is not encouraged in modern day society. Rather, the opposite is being promoted. So it is extremely rare. I mean, some people. I know from personal experience. Some people are convinced that this is impossible. Ordinary people, probably most ordinary people that you speak to, they will say it is impossible to be celibate. But it's not a fact, and there has always been, and it is a very integral and a very essential aspect of our Vedic culture. As we mentioned a few minutes ago, celibacy is not only for the Naistika brahmacharis. Celibacy is also for householders. That needs to be understood properly, of course. So, yeah. Any thoughts or comments?
Upakurvana, I found something.
Okay.
Kurvana means to make or doing or to act as an agent. And Kurvana
means to act as an agent
or to make or do something.
Or to make or do something.
And Upa means nearing, going closer. So it will turn out to be nearing to acting as an agent, nearing to make something.
Upa means near.
Approaching or
approaching. Well, that word also, upanayana.
Approaching to become.
Yes, similar kind of, right? That means that even, because the idea is that when one is in Gurukula, one is fully meant to be dedicated to the spiritual master. Obviously, when one graduates from Gurukula, as we have read a few minutes ago, most graduates from Gurukula will enter into householder life. But if one maintains that spirit of celibacy, understanding the real purpose of family life, which is meant to be regulated, then one still remains close to the spiritual master. We could understand it that way. Because the perfection of any disciple is to remain, if not physically close, because majority of disciples cannot be physically close to the spiritual master, especially in modern day society, where even during Prabhupada's time, for example, I mean, I met some of my god brothers and god sisters who never even saw Prabhupada. You know, they heard Prabhupada in lectures, etc., like that, but they never physically, they were never present where Prabhupada came or stayed. Yeah. I saw Prabhupada a number of times, but I never spoke to Prabhupada. It was rare. You know, it was because very often the devotees, they will ask, you know, some particular pastime you had with Prabhupada, which is, of course, naturally devotees are eager to know about Prabhupada. And the situation is that the vast majority of even Prabhupada disciples, you know, the vast majority of Prabhupada disciples, if they had any kind of, even kind of exchange or any kind of service they might have rendered, however simple or insignificant, it was like something they carry with them for the whole life, practically speaking. But the vast majority of disciples, even Prabhupada disciples, which goes to indicate how rare it is actually to get the association of personality like Srila Prabhupada. Okay, any other? Jai Grantaraj Bhagavatam ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaura Pimanande, Hare Krishna. What was wrong with this?
That one battery.
Okay, so.
This I charged up that I was.
Yes. All these machines are all very nice, but they require attention. Otherwise they fall